Reddit, what are some college majors that should definitely be avoided? If you're a journalism major, getting involved in student publications media is way more important than classes. Journalists aren't hired based off of their degree, but how well acclimated they are to newsrooms, deadlines, etc. You can't learn the trade in the classroom, only in the field. Classes are to just help you refine your skills and the little things. Oh, absolutely. I started hanging out in the newsroom of my school the first week of my freshman year. It boggles my mind how there were journalism majors who just didn't want to get involved but were still convinced their degree would get them by. Standalone language majors. How are you, student learning a language in 4 years, going to compete with a bilingual speaker who also has skills for the workforce? You must pair it with something else. If you want to major in a language, you double major. Going through college undecided, then just picking whatever you have the credits to graduate with in your senior year. General studies. Just pick a major. Being undecided all 4 years won't look great on your first resume unless you leave undergrad with some amazing experience that translates into an immediate position. My associate's is in general studies. I changed my major so many times that my advisor just pulled my credits together and told me to show up in May for graduation. Foreign languages. If you plan on moving to the country you are majoring in, at least double major so you can do something there. I can't tell you how many people I knew majoring in French that wanted to move to France and work there. I double majored and so far it has worked out for me, but not so much for the people who plan to move abroad with no other degree or plan. I was a history major. 'Twas fun but no money. Now I'm a zookeeping major. Tons more fun and even less money. I'm just here to check if my major is listed. Me too. So far it's not. If you don't plan on getting at least a master's degree, avoid psychology. I've known several servers, bartenders, and receptionists that have their degree in psychology. Even a few that have ended up in retail. Not that I'll look down on those jobs, just that they clearly don't require a psychology degree. To get a job in the field you pretty much need to have a master's at least. Wish I could have figured this out when I was 18. Art history. My current roommate, out of college now, was an art history major. She doesn't do any art herself, just really likes art. Spends a lot of her weekends going to museums and galleries. Can't find a job in what she wants to do. Has an entry-level position as an office administrator and she hates it. Can't really move up much in her company because she doesn't have the knowledge of the industry she's in. She went to a private university for it and will be paying off loans for a long time. It's such a shame that this is the reality, because if I could have majored in anything without worrying about money it would have definitely been art history. I managed to get a few classes in while I was in college and they were definitely my favorite. Oh boy, the weekly AskReddit that gives me an existential crisis. Neat. I'm happy to help. Unless you're 10,000,000% certain you're going to be a priest, preacher, rabbi, imam, whatever, don't waste your time getting a degree in theology, religion, etc. Kinesiology is popular but has a very limited job pool, at least where I live. Be careful when studying music. Most universities offer music performance and music education. Getting a bachelor's in music education means you're certified to teach at a school, and therefore has more potential of getting you a job. Music performance just means you got really good at playing your instrument. You still have job options, such as giving lessons, starting your own studio, joining a professional symphony, or just being a freelance musician. But those all have varying levels of difficulty and instability. For example, to get into a symphony, you have to be the best of the best, at least for top tier symphonies. So your probability of being hired depends solely on your audition. And to be a freelance musician means that there may be periods where you're unemployed. And even when you are hired by someone, you will go most of the time without insurance or a retirement fund. And then you have to factor in the location you're in. If you're in an area that's musically dry, you won't be finding any paying gigs unless you're a teacher. There may be plenty of people wanting your services, like churches, community bands, and musical pit orchestras, but you probably won't get paid. Non-accredited majors. Even if it sounds like a good degree, mechanical engineering for example, it might not be accredited, meaning it doesn't hold anywhere near the value. Major in something practical, minor in something fun. Major in what will make you money, minor in what you love. That's what my dad always taught me. I never control F'd so hard in my life. Don't have to control F when my major is the top comment. Biology. Unless you want to go to med farm vet school or graduate school, a BS in biology won't get you very far and you'll max out an earning potential early on. A lot of bio majors go back for their MIS or PhD because they're stuck at a low pay scale. If you already know that's what you want to do, you're fine. Make sure you do a BS and not a BA though. I'm starting to think that most degrees are like this now. It's like a bachelor's is the new HS diploma. So many people have bachelor's degrees these days that they're not worth what they used to be. I haven't seen it posted but I'm curious. Is an environmental science degree worth anything? It's what I'm going for and I was looking at getting a job working in national forests. Don't do something you dislike because you think it's a good career path. Work is going to be a major part of your life, so aiming for something that you can't stand doing is a bad idea. I'm fighting with that, sort of. I decided to major in something I love, but I hate it now because it's becoming a career instead of a hobby. The career I want is generally lower pay, but I'd rather major in that because I'd actually be happy. My last job was at a gas station chain, and I met at least 3 hourly gas station managers who had biology master's degrees. Blew my mind that they were attempting to pay down $120k worth of loans on $20 HR. Criminal justice. It seems to be the new default major for people who don't actually know what they want to do now that psychology is out of vogue. I work at a courthouse, and I never graduated college. Most of the new people are trying to get in with criminal justice degrees because it will look good on their resume, and there are a ton of people applying with that major. Very competitive. It's not always just about the major, but what else you do in school. I got my degree in anthropology, which as a bachelor's doesn't mean much in itself, but I managed to get into courses where I did actual research and got my name co-published in a couple professional journals. That was something I've been able to market to employers as much if not more than the degree. Same goes for something often bad-mouthed like women's studies. I have 2 close friends who went that route, and both are employed in careers. Women's studies, not STEM, prepared them to go on to get social work degrees, which is where they now make their living. Agreed. College is the epitome of YMMV. An in-demand major helps, but doesn't mean jack if you don't put in the work to network and intern. A crappy degree held by someone who did internships for at least the latter half of their education will be looked at better than a good degree holder with no experience. So, incoming college goers, intern, network, schmooze. It really depends on what your goals are for your education, your career, and your life in general. German polka history. Well, looks like I'm fricked because I majored in that and a comprehensive history of German beer steins. Is a bachelor's in psychology a mistake? What can I do with it? Social worker? Got it but haven't needed for a job, just stayed a massage therapist because I like it. Any good plan B options? For me, I went back and got my master's in computer science after that. I worked at Starbucks for a year after undergrad and couldn't find a job with my psych degree, though I don't think it's impossible, it's just fairly tough. Working as a developer now and digging it. Unless you eat, sleep, and breathe architecture, do not even consider it as a major. You will spend more money, more sleepless nights, and more of your sanity than any other student. Unless you have the passion necessary to make those sacrifices, forget it. Learn from my mistakes. I just finished a dual master's in architecture and urban design. Everything you said 100%, except now that I'm out and working, there was indeed light at the end of the tunnel. To avoid all college majors. I feel bad talking crap about my degree, but biomedical engineering. Maybe not avoid it, but make sure you have an idea of what you like at the beginning or early as possible, and tailor your work experience, classes, training, etc. to that specialty. For example, if you like prosthetics, have things that show you are ready to compete with mechanical and electrical engineers over the same position, and that your biology anatomy knowledge gives you an edge over them. All other engineers have obvious fields they can go into. Biomed is simply just not as fleshed out, and employees may just pick grads with majors they fully understand. In my undergrad, I went more of the bioinformatics route and did a lot of coding, so I load up my resume with that stuff and had 2 internships that furthered my coding ability. But would it have been easier if I just did computer engineering? Possibly. Just about every major. As someone who can't do crap with STEM related stuff and has no real talents, I've just kinda accepted I'm royally fricked. Criminal justice. I'm about 2 months away from having my AA in CJ, but every law enforcement professional I met said don't waste your time getting your bachelor's in CJ. Get it in something practical like business or engineering, so if goodness forbid something happens to you, then you have a degree and something else to fall back on. I want to be a police officer BTW. If you're not gonna get a master's and attend an accredited school, don't do architecture. Don't do a business major if even the smallest amount of math freaks you out. Even in things that aren't accounting finance, you will still have to do a little bit in most entry-level positions. Any major starting with pre-law, pre-med, etc. I know several people who became doctors with degrees in chemistry, biology, or engineering. I also know someone who finished pre-med, went to med school, realized he didn't want to be a doctor, and was fricked. He ended up spending 4 years getting a second bachelor's degree. Likewise, you can easily get a law degree and become a lawyer with degrees in all sorts of things. You can't do anything else with a pre-law degree. Graphic design. The market is oversaturated with designers. Design is very subjective. No matter what jargon pro designers may throw at you about color theory and the golden ratio, when it comes down to you finding a job, it's all about if the employer likes what they see. The current industry is being devalued by sites like Fiverr and 99 Designs, where companies will pay pennies to get a logo or a flyer made. This makes companies not value or need in-house designers. Design agencies are very stuck up and the culture is almost always cutthroat. The pay sucks. Depending on your city, the entry-level pay can fluctuate, but you will be making nowhere near the money you could be with other forms of education. You most likely will not be doing what you love unless you get lucky. If you become an in-house designer, be prepared to only design stuff related to whatever your company specializes in for the rest of your employment there. If you're hired at an agency, you will have more opportunities to work on different brands, but may not be the brands you're interested in. Also, the degree seems to not mean much by itself. I have hired a handful of graphic designers and have never once asked if they have a degree. I only care about their portfolio and work ethic. First of all, almost every major is useless if you can't show employers what you learned with it. That is internships, publications, research, papers, projects beyond what is expected of a college assignment, etc. Also, you may have the risk of making your degree useless if you want to stay in a certain area. In doing so, you are limiting your job prospects in that industry. For example, you major in art history, but there is only one art museum in the state and you don't want to leave the state. Second, most majors themselves have some degree of usefulness. Supposedly useless majors such as philosophy, history, can be great prep for an advanced grad school degree like pre-law or other intensive writing research degrees. Others like English, classics, journalism show that you can write well, which is always valuable, and can lead to jobs in copywriting, editing, etc. That being said, there are some degrees I would not recommend getting. Sports management. Coming from someone that worked at the highest levels of athletics, a sports management degree is useless. While there are jobs in sports, they just require you to grind and they are really competitive to get. I know for a fact that hiring managers don't give a crap what degree you have, except for like athletic training. They just care about your experience. So sports management itself doesn't get you hired, and it eliminates career options if a career in sports doesn't work out. It's also getting a rep that it is an easy major, in which I agree is the case with about 98% of sports management programs. Again, going to what I said earlier using the art history example, probably isn't a good idea to major in sports management if you attend a small private NIA school in the middle of Iowa. Other useless majors include dance ballet if you have a bad knee or back, and African American studies from North Carolina. Google academic scandal. If you don't like crap ton of physics, or if you're not at least somewhat good in it, don't go into lucrative engineering fields because there's a very high chance you will switch out. If you're in it only for the money, there's a big wake up call heading for you. The one where your entry level salary will be more than what you owe total in student loans. That's what my loan officer told me in the late 1990s. Your major is what is going to help you make money throughout your life. Keep your hobbies out of it or make it a minor. I've seen a lot of foreign language unless you double major. Nobody has yet mentioned that Japanese isn't a happy life. Period. There is literally thousands of other Westerners pining for that English teaching job in Japan, and they treat you like dirt when you get there. In the UK, if you can afford not to, don't do law. Many law firms I stumbled across prefer non-law rigorous degrees, linguistics, maths, hard science, and a conversion to law. If you get good enough grades, you might be able to get your degrees for free because some firm or in of court will pay for it. If you want to do IP law, just do science. Whatever area of science you graduate from is the area that you can do patents. Also, you can work in the patents office. If you don't want to do law, you will always get asked the question as to why you studied law and you are not trying to work in law, as I got when trying to get a job in PR. Finally, if you want to be a solicitor, forget the LPC. A new super exam is coming out in 2020 and you won't need to spend £10 20k on the LPC to qualify. You will, however, still need 2 years work experience, so get that now. Don't go to college unless you know what you want to do. We've been looking at this all wrong. Start with where you want to be in 10-15 years and then work backwards. What's between you and that place? If college is one of those things, then go to college. Looking at it the wrong way is how we've ended up with $1 trillion in student loan debt. Don't just go to college for the sake of going to college. It would literally be cheaper to travel around the world, and you'd learn more. Gender studies. Like this video and this good boy will play you a nice song. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video, or don't. Either way, have a great day, you magnificent people.